What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for October 31st, 2023. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Philadelphia fans, it's time to rejoice. Ding dong, the witch is dead. All right, that might be a little extreme, but James Harden is gone. Nothing like completely switching up your podcast when you get into your truck at 4:30 in the morning to go to the gym and you hear them asking your thoughts on the trade, which you had no idea because it happened at 2 a.m. But if you're just waking up and you missed it, the Sixers did trade James Harden, or according to reports, did trade James Harden to the Clippers along with PJ Tucker and Petrusev for Marcus Morris, Nick Batum, Robert Covington, KJ Martin, a 2028 unprotected first-round pick, a couple second-round picks, a 2029 first-round pick swap with the Clippers, and then another first-round pick from another team that has yet to be named. They are going to waive Danny Green to make room for that. But I have to say, good riddance. I mean, this dude is, to call him a cancer is disrespectful to cancer. I mean, he did it in Houston. He did it in New Jersey. And this is not taking anything away from what he did on the court, except for the fact that he didn't show up in the series once Joe came back when we needed him. But that's a whole other story for another time. But again, like I've mentioned it 1,000 times on here, this is who he is. I mean, and I give him, honestly, between Kawhi and Paul George out there, I mean, they're claiming it's a super team and he's ecstatic. I give him till the All-Star break before something goes south. That's his MO. This is what he's been his entire career. But I mean, I feel like I've spent way too much time talking about him over the course of the summer. I'm glad it's finally done. I'm glad it's done 2 games into the season. And I mean, the Sixers now, all of a sudden, because I mean, they've played well the first 3 games of the season, and they're going to be a fun team to watch. But they're set up so well now. They are set up so well moving forward. And I don't think Daryl Morey's done yet. I wouldn't be surprised if somehow that first-round pick in 2028 somehow gets used as leverage, especially if they have a chance to make a move for a player. I know they've been linked to Zach LaVine. Maybe that's I don't know. Without having really much time, honestly, like I was trying to listen to stuff at the gym and try to figure it out, but like I have not really had time to like break down. But I will say I'm shocked at the reaction so far I'm seeing. I know it's a small sample size because of when the trade went down, but just saying how the Clippers fleeced the Sixers. And I mean, now that's going to be our question of the day. I'll get into that later, but I need somebody to explain to me how the Sixers got fleeced here. You got 4 guys back that are all on expiring contracts. Yes, they're old, but Marcus Morris, Nick Batum probably won't be here long term. I wouldn't even be surprised if somehow one of them gets waived at some point. Robert Covington is older, but he can bring you something. Remember, he was here before. He like typifies. This is like the process coming full circle at this point. KJ Martin's an interesting. He's young, so it's interesting to see. He could be auditioning, but with Tobias's contract going off, now that James Harden's gone, and these 4 contracts that are all expiring, along with the picks to give you some flexibility for trades, next year the Sixers have Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, Jaden Springer, and B-Ball Paul are the only 4 players they have under contract. They have a shit ton of money to spend. So I now that this is done, I can actually start focusing and see who's going to be a restricted free agent next year or unrestricted and see what options they might have. But this is a great move, Sixers Nation. I mean, I don't see how this is a bad move. And you got old man Tucker out of there too. And I don't know how Daryl Morey did it. He must have been taking, like, to me, I feel the Clippers are the ones that got fleeced. I feel like they have a very short window. I don't think James Harden's the guy to do it with all 3 of those guys are old. But hey, and if that's what they want, I mean, the Western Conference, other than Denver, is kind of wide open this year. So maybe that was the thought process. They might be able to go for it. But I feel like Daryl Morey he dressed up as Howie Roseman for Halloween and pulled this trade. So I will take it. We'll get more on that for the question of the day. But I'm just floored that people are not thinking. Plus, you get a guy that didn't want to be here. That I'm glad they did it now before it got too deep into the season, and all of a sudden you have like he's wearing the fat suit and becomes like that cancer in the locker room that he's been everywhere he's gone. So what makes me believe that this is going to work out well in Los Angeles, and the fact that they wanted him. Hey, I mean, he's a good player, but I'll take it. Let's go. It's time to rejoice. It's going to be a very happy Halloween, Sixers fans. Sticking with the Sixers, we might as well stay with that in that flow. I did have other news other than that, but Tyrese Maxey was the Eastern Conference Player of the Week. No shock there. He just was phenomenal. And I'm really excited with what his development is. And now you have the money to now sign him to the max contract. And you build your team now around Joe and Tyrese and see if you can squeeze one more last good playoff run out of Joe before he gets too old and starts breaking down. The big thing I wanted to talk about before we got the Harden bomb was the in-season tournament starts on Friday, and I finally was able to read up and look at this. It's very interesting. They have the group play, which counts for the standing, so I guess it's kind of built into the schedule. The knockout round then after the group stage actually counts for the standings as well. I was under the impression it was just like everything shut down, like kind of MLS and other soccer leagues do, and you just play the tournament. But no, this is kind of built into the schedule, so it's going to be sort of ongoing. The championship round does not count for the standings, but Tuesdays and Fridays, starting this Friday, are in-season tournament days. So it is a little bit different than what I anticipated. So there might be some buy-in. It might be kind of interesting just to see, like, especially if your team might not be a contender for, like the Sixers could get hot and win this tournament. There is flex scheduling then to balance out the schedule for the teams that don't advance. But the Sixers are in a group with the Cavaliers, the Hawks, Pacers, and the Pistons. Again, we'll see. I don't know. It should be interesting. This is the first year they're doing it, and I think I like it better now that it's not like everything stops. And that's what I thought it was going to be, kind of like around the All-Star break. Everything just stopped, and you did it sort of like the Olympics. But no, they built it into the actual NBA schedule, which I think is interesting. And, I mean, it just gives a nice little – kind of like when you have a fantasy football league and you give $50 out a week to the high scorer. The guy that is 1 in 10 could have a good week and still win $50. I feel like this is what it is. But we'll see. And I was going to make the question of the day, thoughts on the NBA in-season tournament. However, the question of the day is, what's your reaction to the Harden trade? How do you grade it? Like, is this a win-win for both teams? Is it and who cares about the Clippers, to be honest? Who cares if it's a win-win for both teams? Are the Sixers now set up to be successful in the next couple of years? Like, were they able to crack that window of winning a championship open just a little bit more with all that money they have and Nick Nurse coming in as a coach? So let me know what you think. That's the question of the day. Hit me up on all my social media. If you're listening on Spotify, it will be on the app. But what are your thoughts on the Sixers trade? I personally, I'm through the moon excited about this. Like, I can watch the Sixers game. I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. Like, I'm excited for this Sixers season now. You know what I'm not excited for, though? Trash in the back of my truck. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't even know where it comes from, how the kids accumulate it, but carcan.com has a solution. Go check out their selection of car organization stuff, but their main product is the car can, which goes right on the back of your seat. You throw your trash in. You can use one, you get 2 for each side. Use it for storage. I think it's great. Like, you can use it as a cooler. And if you don't have kids or you don't really want to have anything to do with the trash, They have other things to keep your car organized. I know they have a thing for the trunk, which like I am actually debating getting just to put in the back of my truck. Like I have like a roll bar, or I forget what they're called, but basically a bar to help with keep things neat. But like certain times when you're carrying stuff, it rolls around the back of your truck or your trunk. So go check it out. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery 20 off for 20% off of your order. That's carcan.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery 20 off for 20% off of your order. That's all one word. Makes a great Christmas present. I'm telling you, you're going to be the hero of the office if you get this. That's carcan.com. Promo code Jim Montgomery 20 off. All right, so back to the original start of the pod, but I had to get that Harden news out. It's amazing. But the question of the day yesterday was, are there any other non-human entities, whether it's a building, an event, organization that should be inducted into Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame? And the two most popular ones, and I have to say, this is great. And if you guys actually want to submit this, go to phillyhall.org. You can submit people to nominate. But the Broad Street Run had a couple of votes, which I'm like, man, didn't even think about that. That is up there because it's a Philadelphia institution. It is sports-based and kind of one of those outside-the-box things. And then the other was the Dadvale Regatta, which, again, is another one. We've talked about that a couple times on this podcast of just being one of the oldest rowing races. Currently, it's not being held on the Schuylkill as they're doing the dredging project. It's up on the Cooper River in Trenton, but another good Philadelphia institution. So I love it. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you everyone who sent submissions. But those two were the two that came up more consistently. But the Broad Street Run was, a lot of people said that, so I love it. All right, Eagles news, and I wanted to say I was not myself yesterday. I needed a Snickers bar, apparently. As they're having time to think about it and really kind of break down and listen to what people are saying, there's no need to be worried about this team. Hurts, whether or not he's hurt or banged up with his knee or not, he was phenomenal throwing the ball. And I think that is one of the dimensions that a lot of teams will try to stop. Like they don't want him to run, and they're like, they dare him to pass. Well, if he's going to pass like he did from the pocket on Sunday, look out. Go ahead. Dare him not to run. So I think as long as they can manage that knee and it's not anything super serious, I think they'll be all right. I think it's also fair to say we're 7-1. We're the only 7-1 team, best record in the NFL. The Chiefs look terrible. The 49ers look terrible. I mean, we have the game against the Cowboys, and Washington's a division game that always plays us tough. So I may have just overreacted a little bit. The defense was off. And even Kevin Byard even said, like, we hold, as defensive backs, we hold ourselves to a high standard or a certain standard, and we didn't live up to those standards. So the defense, the team recognizes it. I really think they're going to be okay. I think there may have been a slight bit of looking ahead to the Cowboys, whether or not they'll admit that or not. I think that it's hard to do. It's human nature. And I mean, 2 fumbles inside the 5. Like, you score on both of them, and all of a sudden, this is a 21-point game. Actually, 28, because Washington came down and scored after they went up 14. So it changes the whole dynamic. They do need to clean up those turnovers and be a little bit more sharp with things. They're in a good spot. I feel like I needed a Snickers bar. I just was all doom and gloom yesterday, but as I had time to soak it in, good win for the Eagles, especially within the division. And I think they're in a good spot because I think the fact that Dallas won the way they did on Sunday, coming into the Link, place is going to be hostile. They might be able to, it might be time to expose the Cowboys a little bit. And if they get exposed, is this the time that all of a sudden they come in, can't beat the Eagles? Is this when it implodes and we start hearing the murmurs for Trey Lance? I don't know. I think it's definitely on the table that this could happen. Jalen Carter could play on Sunday, and I think losing him was a big blow. I would love to see him play in that game on Sunday. but I guess we'll get more updates as the week goes. Today also is the trade deadline. What does Howie have up his sleeve? I still feel there's a move coming. I don't know if it's a running back. I know some people are, a lot of people are saying we need a linebacker, but that's just not Howie's MO. So we'll see what happens with that. But I could see a running back. I could see, obviously we could use some offensive line depth, but nobody's really trading an offensive lineman at this time of year anyway, because everybody needs offensive line depth. So we'll have to see what Howie does. And is Howie the GOAT of Philadelphia GMs? I mean, you got Daryl Morey doing, in my opinion, a Howie Roseman impersonation, getting James Harden out of here. And, I mean, ultimately, you didn't get Terrence Mann, but so what? I mean, you got a shitload of money now to spend. So go to phillygoat.com and get some of those Sixers shirts. I mean, they have a ton. I have a feeling there might be some more coming out now that Harden's gone. But go check them out. You get your Eagles gear there. The Union are still gearing up for their playoff run. Flyers are still a young team, but they're looking good. They have whatever you need. I mean, Philly-centric, Philly pride, Philly-based, whatever. Go to phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off. T-shirts from Philly Goat also make a good Christmas gift. Just throwing that out there. So be sure to go to phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off. Get your T-shirts for your Sixers, Flyers, Eagles, Phillies, or just get one of each. Like I said, they make a great Christmas gift. phillygoat.com, promo code Jim Montgomery, 20% or for 10% off. 10% off at Philly Goat, 20% at carcan.com. And if you guys ever run into problems, just go down through the links wherever you're watching or listening to this. Everything you need, click those links. It'll take you right to the sites. All right, Flyers lost 3-2. They hung with Carolina, who is a Stanley Cup contender. They just couldn't close it out. They had a lead at one point, and they were playing with them and doing well. But as a young team who's learning how to win, and like you see it all the time in sports, young teams just don't know how to get the knockout punch. But a good learning experience for them, good game. If there's such thing as a good loss, 3-2 to a Stanley Cup contender where you went toe-to-toe with them for most of the game, I would consider that a good loss. All right, finally, we are going to go back to 2015. And before we go back to 2015, I'd be remiss to mention this is the anniversary, 15 years of the Phillies parade on Halloween, celebrating that 2008 World Series championship. I know it still stings a little bit. I was hoping to go to another one this year, but we can all live vicariously through our memories of that 2008 parade. But today, 2015, was the pinnacle of Temple football, in my opinion. The number 21 Temple Owls took on the number 9 Notre Dame Fighting Irish at the Link in front of over 69,000 fans. College Game Day was at Independence Hall. The atmosphere was just incredible. Both teams were undefeated. Then the game started, and I mean the crowd was electric that day. It was obviously there was fans for both teams, but there's a ton of Temple fans in the crowd that day. Temple was down 14-10 at halftime, and then their defense really stepped up, held Notre Dame to 3 points in the second half till late in the fourth quarter. Temple, we all thought was going to shock the world and pull off the upset. It scored a touchdown to go up 20-17 with 4:45 left in the game. But then they couldn't stop Deshaun Kaiser, and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish ended up losing 24-20. That 2015 Temple team, remember they beat Penn State and it was one of the greatest moments as a Temple football fan ever. After this Notre Dame game, though, they did lose 3 of their next 6, including the AAC title game, as well as the Boca Raton Bowl, to fall to 10-4 on the year. I really think that this game if they had they won this game, they were actually in the conversation that if they could have run the table, won the AAC, they had an outside chance of getting into the college football playoff the way it was set up back then. But they would have had to run the table, and this would have been a key game, and they were in it. They were in it. Man, they were in it, and I just, it was And then the next year, they won the AAC championship, but Matt Rule resigned after the regular season to go take over the Baylor team, and it just sort of was the beginning of the end. We had Rod Carey come in, and then it was supposed to be Manny Diaz, and then Rod Carey, and just it's been downhill ever since for Temple. And I feel like this was the pinnacle. I thought the best was yet to come, and then the entire landscape of everything changed, and Temple has yet to recover from it. Ironically enough, this Notre Dame game came 6 years to the day that they became bowl eligible under, why can't I think of his name? He wore the tie, went to Miami. Oh my goodness, why can I not think of this guy's name? Hold on. I hate to do this, but that's really going to bother me that I can't remember his name. But it came 6 years to the day that they finally became bowl eligible for football for the first time since like 1979. Why can I not think of his name? Not Matt Rule. Oh my goodness. Al Golden, for the love of God. How could I forget Al Golden? He was our savior. But yeah, it was the good old days. It was very disappointing on this day back in 2015. Temple lost to Notre Dame 24-20, ending the dream of what could have been something special. And I like to think of that game, that day, is the pinnacle of Temple football, but to me shows what college football could be with a good team in Philadelphia. I don't know how we get back to that. I don't know who is going to do it. It doesn't seem like Temple's going to do it. But if you give them something to care about, college football fans in Philadelphia will show up and show out. And that whole week leading up to that game against Notre Dame just goes and to prove that. But on this day in 2015, 24-20, the Owls came up just short against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. All right, it's the last day of October, which means this is our last focus on the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. The ceremony is on Thursday. I'm looking forward to it. I'll have a full recap on Back to the Future at some point next week, but I'm very, very much looking forward to it. And on the last day, I want to do something fun. This is my own sort of thing that I did, not related to the inductees or the 20 for 20 or the 5 that I think are going to be in. These are the teams in Philly that are in the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. The 67 Sixers, the 83 Sixers, the 80 Phillies, 73 through 75 Flyers, the 48 and 49 Eagles, the 1960 Eagles, the 1910 through 1913 Philadelphia A's, who won 3 or 4 World Series, the 1929-1930 A's, who won back-to-back and were basically in contention in the American League, but were going up against the Yankees Murderer Row teams, the 1954 LaSalle Men, who won the national championship, the 1947 Philadelphia Warriors, who won the championship, the 72 through 74 Immaculata Women, the Mighty Macs are in. Very good teams that all won championships. But who's going next? And then there's some big notable teams that I think are left out. It does seem to me that they reserve the team for the team induction for teams that have won it. So obviously you got to throw in the Super Bowl 52 team. I think at some point they will be in. I know it's still sort of relatively new, a newer one, but I think they will get in. The 2008 Phils absolutely will get in as well, breaking the curse. And I wonder if they could do, because it was the golden era and they won all the division titles, that they just do 07 through 2011 for it. I think you got to throw in any of the three. I'm surprised the 85 Villanova basketball team is not in yet, but 85, 2016, or 2018 Villanova teams I think should be in. And then there are 2 teams, or 3 teams I should say, that are not in, that did not win, but I think deserve consideration to be in. The first is the 93 Phillies, just for the way they captivated and came out of nowhere and just how beloved they are. Yes, they did not win, so if that is the criteria, then yes, they shouldn't be in. But I think you can make the argument that they should be in. The 2000-2001 Sixers, obviously, they did not win, but they are a beloved team. They were our lovable loser from back earlier this summer. I think they should be in. And I'm going to probably get a lot of grief for this as a Temple guy, but I think the 03-04 St. Joe's Hawks team that went through the regular season undefeated and went to the Elite Eight and lost when John Lucas III hit a three-pointer, they should be in. But let me know. It's not the question of the day, but let me know. Are there any other teams that I didn't mention that should be in the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame? On this day back in 2015, Temple lost to Notre Dame at the Link 24-20 in the pinnacle of Temple football. Ding dong, the witch is dead. James Harden is gone. That's your question of the day. Let me know, how are we feeling about this trade? Are we excited to be Sixers fans now moving forward to the season? Hit me up wherever you can. Send smoke signals. It's supposed to be a clear day, I think. Let me know. More on this story as it develops. But this has been This Day in Philly Sports History. Sorry we went a little bit longer today, but James Harden is that. He's out. He's out of here. This is a great day. I'm Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a very happy Halloween. Be safe out there tonight. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.